Hey guys, Matt with Tips for Truckers here. And this one is the number one thing you need to do prior to going to trucking school, to starting your career as a truck driver, before even strongly considering driving a truck. You got to do this coming up. So, when I was younger, I knew I always wanted to be a truck driver. Never knew how to get into it. I was new to YouTube, so didn't really wasn't a whole lot of videos about trucking on YouTube besides just comedic videos, no informative videos. So I really didn't know how to get into trucking. But I was part of a car community, and there was this one guy there in the car community. I hadn't met him yet, but we talked online a little bit. We had a bunch of mutual friends, and I saw that he started a career driving a truck, and the company wasn't too far, only about a half hour away, and so I just messaged him out of nowhere saying, "Hey, I'd really like to get into trucking, and I know I never met you, and I know this is very forward, but maybe you can tell me a little bit about it, and maybe I can even see your truck, or maybe go for a ride with you for a week." And to my surprise, he said, "Yeah," and he let me stay in a room in his house while I was going through trucking school and everything. He got me the job, my first job, and all that. Even though he wasn't working there anymore, he left on good terms, so his word was still good when he recommended me. So that's how I got into that job. But the best thing I ever did before I started driving a truck is I was in college at the time, and during winter break and during summer break, I went for a week for a ride with him. And the best thing that I did when I was riding with him was I made sure I stayed up. As long as he was driving, as long as he was awake, I made sure that I was up. So I knew I could stay awake for, 12, 14, 16 hours at a time. Not necessarily that I was driving, but at least I was awake. I got used to the food uh, meal intervals, when we stopped for food. I got used to, going this long without stopping for food. I learned to eat in the truck. Learned to go this long without going to the bathroom. And all these little aspects of trucking, you'd be surprised, because one of them may hinder your ability to drive a truck, period. Now, when you first start driving a truck, you're not going to be able to drive 8 hours straight, just period, pretty much. And so you get used to driving for 10, 11 hours a day and everything, and working for 14 or whatever it may be. But the other thing that I did, I made sure whenever he was backing into a dock, I opened the doors. I helped slide the tandems. I learned how to slide the tandems. Offer to help with every single thing they did. And the biggest thing was, it was a reefer, and he had to load and unload. And I helped him load and unload the truck on those freezer docks. So I got used to, being in the freezer docks. I knew exactly what I was getting into when I was getting into trucking. And one thing I really wish I had done was follow the route, and you'll become more familiar with the roads in the country and everything. Because before this, I hadn't gone 300 miles to Chicago in my adult life. I went on a couple of road trips when I was a kid, but I never knew what roads we were on. So that's a really big thing, is to follow along. Look out for low bridges, look out for signs, take note of what city you're going through, and different roads in the city, like the loop and the bypass, and what interstates go straight through, and this and that, and what lanes you need to be in. You'd be surprised how much of those things you could really pick up on, or knowing that you can't drive straight through Atlanta on 75 in a truck. A lot of drivers don't know that. But little things like this, a lot of times, little things like not being able to go 2 hours or so without going to the bathroom, you're just not going to be able to drive a truck like that. And little things like that, you have to get the full experience of driving a truck before you even apply to trucking school, I would say. Even a local job, I'd say the same thing. You ride with somebody over the road, even if you're just planning on going local. Because over the road is a completely different animal. If you can handle over the road, then you can handle a local driving job. Or the exact opposite is sometimes you realize that over the road is what's made for you, and you're not really cut out for a local job. But I was visiting my friend that I rode with today, and I first time seeing him since we rode together, and it really made me think how much that opened my eyes to what trucking's about. And you'll probably be able to make a lifelong friend, and you might be able they might be able to get you a job too, and just help you out with things. They can you can give them a call if you need help when you start driving and all that. But I would strongly recommend riding with somebody before you decide to drive a truck. There's a lot of aspects. Check out my last video about the misconceptions about truck drivers, and there's a lot of misconceptions. I'll probably do a video about the misconceptions of the trucking industry as a whole. But definitely ride with over the road truck driver before you ever get your CDL.